violating my personal space. Can
You're
you back
violating
up?
my personal space too.
What's your name and shield number?
What's your name?
What's your name and shield
What's your
number?
name?
Wait, you pick and choose what part of your patrol got you read? I'm a citizen. I ask you your name and your shield number and your command.
Right, and I asked you, why are you filming me? Why are you invading my personal space?
You walked 30 feet to me.
No, that's not 30. How do you know it's 30 feet?
I just counted it. It's
Oh, you
30
counted
feet.
it?
What is your name and your shield number?
What is your name?
You're not going to tell me?
It's right there on my badge. You can read it, you will know.
Again, you pick and choose what parts of your patrol guide you read?
I'm not picking, you picking. It's right there. My badge number
There's
is
a
right
part
there.
about when city contact with civilians.
Right.
Did you read that part?
There's a part where it says you can't invade police officers' personal space.
So you're not, you get a lot of command disciplines or just a few?
I don't know, you tell me, have you ever been arrested?
What's your name? Rojas 23404. Now could you please get out of my personal space?
You're invading our personal space. That's called OGA.
Yeah, then write a summons for it.
Maybe I should arrest you. How about
Yeah,
it?
try it.
Why not?
Try it.
Why
Try
not?
it. Try it, Rojas. Try it. Officer Rojas, this is bordering on official harassment. Do you really want to do this?
You're already harassing us both.
Do you really want to do this? Do you need a superior to instruct you? Do you need more training on what you should do when someone is photographing you? Huh?
Get out of this train.
Why y'all dragging them in the snow like that?
The advent of the cell phone has caused a personal video phenomenon. The internet is replete with videos of cats and political flubs, but as we've just seen in that example from this past February, the most jarring videos have been those purporting to show acts of police brutality. Just last month, 2 videos emerged showing NYPD officers dragging a partially nude woman out of her apartment, and another showing an officer allegedly stomping on the head of an arrestee in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Still, the best-known recent video was that of Eric Garner, seen being placed in a chokehold by officers attempting to arrest him for the sale of untaxed cigarettes. Garner, an asthmatic with a heart condition, died shortly after, his death ruled a homicide by the medical examiner. Now, we, the public, are able to see this footage thanks to the bystanders in the vicinity of police action who choose to hit record on their cell phones. But what right does a bystander have to film and record the police? And what are we witnessing on these videos? Are these videos valuable to the understanding of the administration of justice? Here to help me answer these questions and analyze the legal considerations these videos bring to bear is Jay Schweitzman, the president of the Kings County Criminal Bar Association. Welcome.
Thank
and
you.
Andrew Stoll, an attorney in Brooklyn here who represents and specializes in civil rights law. So thank you guys very much for being here with me to discuss this very important topic. And before we delve right into the conversation, I want to take a moment to step back a little bit from the sensationalism around these videos and talk a little bit more about the law that allows these videos to take place. And I'm talking, of course, about the right to record. So what is the right to record, and what are we talking about when we mention this right?
Well, the right to record is everybody is just using their cell phones. There is no law that says you have the right. There's no constitutional right. But once you're in the public domain, anything is subject to recording. There's no right to privacy as to when you're walking down the street. And again, there's no law to prevent a public person from filming anything on the streets.
Now, is there...
In fact, I think it's to the contrary, right? I think the First Amendment of the United States Constitution actually protects a bystander in his exercise of his right to take a video of public activity, including especially our public servants. And there's even, I mean, there's a New York State Constitution that might even add greater rights to those individuals than the federal Constitution.
And so just bringing in the Constitution, in 2012, the Department of Justice issued a letter kind of re-emphasizing this right to record, saying that it was grounded in our fundamental understanding of the First Amendment. And
speech.
Right. Now, is there any limits to this? I mean, is it an open-ended right? Are there parameters surrounding this right?
It's what, as long as you're not interfering with the government or the enforcement of police activities, there's no barriers to filming anything that you see that's in the public domain. You're not trespassing, you're not interfering with the police. There's no reason whatsoever that you cannot film what's going on in the streets.
So as long as it's in a public space and not in someone's private yard or anything of that nature.
And even when it's in a private yard, you can film what's going on in your own space.
Okay.
Or even what's visible to the public is fair game. I mean, probably not a good idea to go snoop on your neighbors and videotape their front yard or their backyard. But if it's public view, you're within your rights to do that. I mean, I think we're here to talk about videotaping our public servants and what they're doing. But the right is broad, and your First Amendment protections are broad and strong.
Well, now, our own borough president, Eric Adams, has come out in support of this right, and he said for BK Live, he said, I quote, "I will note that the right to record is a right to free speech and expression. By allowing for a bystander's right to record the actions of police officers, we're not only improving community oversight of police, but we're also improving the safety conditions of officers on the ground." Now, is this you guys' understanding of the purpose of this right, this community oversight of police officers and also ensuring the safety of police officers as they're engaging in these police interactions?
Well, certainly if a police officer knows he's being filmed, he's going to act appropriately, as opposed to without any kind of oversight. Police officers will tend to do what they want to do. And I think that's the big issue with police officers and the NYPD not even wanting to have any kind of cameras on them when they're interacting with the public. And I think with today's technology, it's very important that they have those cameras so that the community is safer, that the police officers are safer. It would do away with so much in terms of searches and seizures. It would document what's going on, and the police officers will be accountable for their conduct as opposed to what they say they observed.
Now, do you think that these videos that are showing these purported acts of police brutality are actually showing acts of police brutality? Now, understanding that law enforcement isn't a pretty business, it's not a polite business, especially when someone's resisting arrest. So are we seeing acts of police brutality or just the unsavory kind of underbelly of law enforcement work?
I think we're seeing both. It's a very broad spectrum. I mean, in our office, we often see videos and people call us and they're excited. They say, we have video, we have video. Sometimes the videos are incredibly compelling and make out an incredibly strong case. Sometimes they practically make out that our would-be clients have committed crimes themselves. And that's why it's so valuable, like Jay was saying. I mean, because you have an objective viewpoint. And it would save the city just millions and millions and millions of dollars in litigation costs alone, because when we bring these lawsuits, if there's a video, the two sides can evaluate the value of that case much more easily. I mean, there are ambiguities, and sometimes you can't quite tell, but you know what? People can sort that out too. So it's never an unfair perspective, because anybody can say, yeah, well, when did that video start? When did it end? But again, if the police had these lapel cameras or something like that, there would be an objective viewpoint from the beginning of the encounter on.
What I'd like to add is GoPro is a company that recently went public, and skateboarders and motorcyclists have cameras mounted on their helmets. And it seems like it's an easy technology for the NYPD to adopt, and again, it would provide oversight. Oftentimes when the police are called to a scene, they're called because something happened. Whether it's Garner selling loose cigarettes, they're called to a scene, and their intent at that point in time is to make an arrest. But then it becomes excessive force. They use excessive force in taking down minor offenses, whether it's Garner selling loose cigarettes or Timon Robinson for stealing paving stones. The actions of the police exceed the scope of what's required to make an arrest, and it becomes a situation where people are dying when they come, or get seriously injured when they come into contact with police over minor offenses.
Wow. So I just want to touch a little bit on something that you just mentioned, Andrew. You said that if police officers were able to have these body cameras on them, it would save the city in spending so much money in settling these lawsuits. Now, the public advocate, Tish James, had recently come out with a report just yesterday saying that, showing why we should have these sort of body cameras on police officers. Now, she has been criticized because this pilot program is going to cost about $5 million. Is that a legitimate reason for the city not to allow officers to just start this pilot program of body cameras?
I have to jump, but I'll let Andy go. The city just paid the family of Timon Robinson $2 million because police killed him. So to say that $5 million is a lot of money, that's just one case, and I'll let Andy talk about the settlements that his office gets from the city for these illegal or these excessive police brutality cases.
Yeah, and in the end, of course, it's not about money. I mean, we do well by doing good, or do we do good by doing well? But it's in the end, it's not about money. In the end, it's about public safety and the value of a life and what the city is willing to spend to protect the public. And they are, they're willing to spend money. I mean, our police force is outfitted like better than the armies of most nations, right? They have equipment that you wouldn't believe. The idea that they can't afford to invest in very simple technology that skate rats around the corner are wearing, on their helmets to videotape their skateboarding it's absurd. It's ridiculous. And by the way, Tish James and Eric Adams, you've got some great references here. You have good people you're talking to.
Brooklynites very much
and
in support.
I would just go on, Andy, and say that it's almost an intentional act to avoid getting these cameras.
Exactly.
And that's because they want to avoid whatever it is and leave the status quo. But the status quo is leading to disenfranchising many persons in the community because the actions of the police tend to affect negatively lower income minority neighborhoods, and it's becoming a problem. And it has been a problem. The public is now getting to see it,
right,
because now you're seeing the videos that Andy and I have been seeing for years. We've heard mothers,
right,
we've seen mothers come into our office crying with the pain because of what they saw the police do to their loved ones. And it's just, now it's coming to light with these videos. So the technology's there, let's just build on it.
So looking at just kind of the economics, a little bit more of it, $2 million just recently the city settled. I'm sure a number of other cases kind of in that same vein. Is this really a reason not to outfit? I mean, are economical considerations a legitimate reason not to outfit police officers?
Andy said it best, it's not a monetary issue, it's a human rights issue. It's something that a humane society, if they could document and avoid police brutality cases, then we should do everything within our resources to get that done. So $5 million over $1 billion budget or a $50 billion budget is, it's not even a percent.
Now, I want to.
Can I just say,
yeah,
it's an absurd irony that it's the police who are fighting having cameras in the street, and that it's criminal defense attorneys and attorneys for the accused who are begging for the cameras. It used to be, it's been like that in corrections at Rikers Island, where the prisoners and detainees at Rikers Island are begging for cameras, and the correction officers unions are fighting them. It's ridiculous. It's completely upside down.
Now, our own borough president, again, issuing the statement saying that he supports the use of body cameras, and he says, "I've been an early supporter of putting cameras on our police officers." In fact, last year, in 2013, when Bill Bratton was back in California before he became commissioner again under the de Blasio administration, he also came out in support of cameras in California. And I'll say a quote from him that was in the New York Times in 2013. "So much of what goes on in the field is he said, she said, and the camera offers an objective perspective." Does the camera allow us to kind of supplement these bystander videos with more of a fuller context of what's going on from the police interaction from the moment they enter the scene through the end? Because of course with these bystander cameras, we're only relying on the goodwill of a citizen who happens to be walking by, hits record on his cell phone, but we don't see what happened before, and you know, that bystander may have a job to go to or someplace else to be, and he exits the scene and we don't really see how it ends up. So is this an ability for us to have more of an objective perspective, as Bratton said last year?
It's a total, it gives us a great ability to see what happened on the streets. Oftentimes the defendant will get charged with resisting arrest, and he has a bruise to the head, while the police officer's injury is his hand is bruised.
Right, bruising and swelling to the hand. They actually write that in the criminal court complaints.
And
the defendant assaulted me in that I suffered bruising and swelling to my hand. Like an assault on an officer's baton. It's ridiculous.
And so now you could see these videos of the actual arrest where you will see that the person getting arrested didn't even lift his hands, only to stop the officer from hitting him. And so you see that with Garner, you see that I've seen that many times on cases now. And even the street cameras in buildings, whether it's public housing or businesses, you are now getting footage real time of what really happened in the street. And you're seeing officers now getting more brought up on charges for falsifying reports about the stop and the search of a particular individual. So all of this camera, as Andy said, is something that's going to benefit the community, and it should benefit the police department because they won't have to rely on their words, but rather the actual documentation.
Now, you guys
I just want to follow up on one thing Jay said. I'm sorry. Just there is something extra we need, because even with the objective viewpoint, we need to get over the sort of institutional aversion to going after police officers who perjure themselves and who commit misconduct, because plenty of times the writing's on the wall and the officer still doesn't even get a slap on the wrist.
So
we need to get serious about
that. There are these allegations that members of the police department are infringing on this right to record, arresting individuals on grounds of disorderly conduct and other forms of disturbing the peace. Are these tactics legitimate tactics that the police are using, or is this a way that you guys have seen in your own practice of possibly getting around, getting these bystander videos kind of out there, or just stopping people from really documenting what's going on in the police force?
They call it obstructing governmental administration.
That's a weighty term.
It's a lot of words. OGA is the shorter version. When an arrest goes down, there are civilians on the street and they will start documenting it. And the balance that the police have is they do not want civilians interfering with the arrest, whether it's lawful or unlawful. They do not want a riot on their hands, so they want to keep the civilians away from the scene. At the same time, the civilians want to document what's going on. So there's a fine line that has to be drawn over there when they make a lawful arrest, that there's a perimeter set up where persons cannot get near the police officers so that they could go about their business of a lawful arrest. And but when persons get close to the police, their reaction is, you're instigating. And it's not an instigating matter when you're just documenting what's going on. They should be welcoming the documentation.
So then, from what I'm understanding from everything that we've spoken about here, the right to record, fundamental to the First Amendment, making sure that individuals who do want to exercise that right do stay a safe distance so that they're not interfering with what's going on between the police and whoever it is that they're questioning, and that sort of thing. Were you about to
I call it a right to keep your eyes open.
Right.
You know, it's to see. It's the right to see what's going on.
Wow.
And to be a citizen journalist. We have 10 million citizen journalists out on the street now with cameras.
You can't sit there and tell the community, close your eyes, we're going to go about our business. It's the right to see.
Now, just one last question here. While you guys are practicing, you both are defense attorneys, civil rights attorney and criminal defense. Do you find that these videos, and hopefully we'll see what happens when PA James's initiative to outfit officers with body cams comes to be, or if it comes to be, do these bystander videos assist you guys in your cases and what you guys understand as justice?
Sure. I hope they put us out of business. That's what I hope. I hope we have no more cases coming to us because they do their job out on the street.
That's honest. Jay?
Well, Andy, I guess so. I never have anybody come to my office and say, today I won the lottery, Jay, let's go out for dinner. It's always something terrible that happened in the street. With Timon, it was, my son is brain dead, he's shackled to a bed, and the police won't let me see him. I mean, these types of situations are just horrendous. It's a human rights issue. We want to move forward. Brooklyn in particular is really growing, and we want to grow together to be the greatest borough in New York City, if not the city.
Thank you guys both for being here. I think
Thanks
that
so
we
much.
really did touch on a very weighty topic, and you guys were able to kind of clarify a lot of the issues here. So we'll see what happens with this effort to outfit officers with body cameras. We'll keep a watch on it.